G'day everyone, welcome back. It's Easter Monday here. We've got a lot of stuff to do, and I was just walking around. I was walking back and forward past the bench here, and I'm looking at the car and I'm going, nah, I need to spend 10-15 minutes on fixing this because it was sort of driving me a bit mad. And look, to be honest, I'm not complaining about it. I'm just pointing out an issue that I found and sort of annoyed me about, because every time I wanted to give the tyres a sand or do something with the car, it'd just bash against the grub screws. So, and yeah, and I don't have any other NSR that does that, so I thought it was really strange. So what I've done is I've given the grub screw a bit of a sand on top. It hasn't taken a lot. It hasn't taken a lot off it, but where's the camera? It's not going to focus. Anyway, so it hasn't taken a lot off the top of the grub screw, but it has taken some. So I didn't want to go too far. I thought about the bottom, but I didn't want to mess around with the threads that's on the bottom of the grub screw. And I've been told that there are smaller versions out there that you could order. I haven't looked yet, so I'll be doing that later this afternoon. So yeah, I didn't want to mess with the threads on the bottom. And because the bottom's a little bit rounded as well, it's designed to push against the axle in a smaller space rather than being flat. Because if it's flat against the axle, there's a chance that it could actually turn, because you can't tighten these down too much, or else you just strip everything, because it's all just fine alloy. So I didn't want to mess with that end. I just wanted to take a bit off the top of it. It still left plenty of insertion room for the tool. So, and it still screws in perfectly fine. And what else I did? What else I did was I did end up taking some out of the chassis. It's not going to completely get rid of the noise, but it's going to make a big difference. I had no problem. I didn't really want to in the beginning take any out of here, because the weakest part, I thought it would make it too weak, because the body mounts on that bit, and as you can see, there's really nothing to them. They just flex. So that was the reason why originally I didn't want to take any out of this spot. But in looking at it, it's by far nowhere near the weakest point. For me here, this point here, where it goes really thin, and through to here, this gap here is by far the weakest spot. You can just see where everything flexes is through that spot. So I had no trouble taking any out of that. And also, closer inspection this morning, I found that this has got a little cutout as well for the grub screw for the wheel. So I'm going to cut a little bit more out of that as well, because it just slightly, the zoom's going to be horrible. You won't be able to see it here. You can maybe see that it's been rubbing on the actual side. So I'm going to cut a bit more out of that one. Doesn't have to be a lot. All right. Get away the burrs. All right, all clean, and I can put that back together now, and hopefully it's all right. Okay, so it's back together now, and I can see there's a better sort of clearance on that side where the grub screw was hitting the chassis, because I've trimmed that up on the corner a bit. So this is not a big problem, right? I'm just pointing out that there's something that can be looked at for any one of us with a Lola. I had in my head that it was like, especially if you're running the pod loose, you're going to get the movement, and with the body float, with the body movement as well, if the body's moving around, it's pushing the chassis up. into the grub screw. So if you're cornering with a loose pod and you're going around a corner and the body's got float, you're constantly going to be hitting. That's my theory, because I saw the rub marks, especially on the non-drive side. So it's just a quick fix, a little bit of Dremel work, and as my video the other day is, I was just wondering if anyone else has found this issue, has had this problem. But yeah, look, there's a quick fix for it. You can grind out the chassis there. Don't go too deep. Just take the sides off it, off the chassis. Take the sides as I showed before, and just sort of like on a bevel, and it'll take away a lot more of the chance of it rubbing, and maybe slowing you down. Who knows? You could be, 1/10 faster. Who knows? But yeah, so that's just a quick fix for it. It'll still hit. I've no doubt that it'll still hit until I get the smaller grub screws, when I do find them. Let's turn it on and have a look. Let's see if it does make any noise now. So it's better, but if I push it up still, it's not as bad as what it was yesterday. See, I can move that now. I can actually move the chassis up and down, and it's not as bad. So I've got to really bend it there. But if I do that so that's the amount of body float you can have, and then the chassis is going to flex with the body. There's no hitting. There's no hitting of the grub screw. Let me get my arm out of the way. So yeah, see, there's nothing hitting. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm happy with that. So it's just a little issue that it could be affecting the car's handling, could be affecting the car's speed. No one else has maybe had this problem, so who knows? But that's just a quick little fix. Little Dremel on the top of the grub screw to shorten it a little bit, and on the chassis as well, because that part of the chassis where there's already a cutout is by far nowhere near the weakest part of that chassis. So it's further up, as I pointed out. It's right about here. It's very thin through here, and the reinforcement through there on the other side sort of runs out and goes thinner. So by all means, trim away at the chassis there, but not too far. There you go. So hope that helps. Thanks for watching. The pink pig lives to fight another day. Less noisy.